Hope you're having a good week, and welcome to the final presentation in this fast track training for teaching online. So our presentation today will be centered on the distant learning policies as reported to SACS-COC, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. That is our accreditation body. So what we're talking about today is all about compliance, and so this has to do with the principles of accreditation, which apply to all programs at Tuskegee University. And it's important to remember that the faculty, according to these principles, assumes primary responsibility for the oversight of all the courses that are being taught. So we, the faculty, ensure that our program has the right quality and rigor, and that the technology used in different courses is appropriate to the nature and the objectives of the courses. So the first three policies we're going to discuss are related to student identity verification. The first one is a secure login to an LMS, and the second is Proctored Exams, technologies verifying student identity, and related practices. And of course, the fourth policy has to do with the credit hour definition. We have to make sure the courses we build meet the definition of the credit hour according to Tuskegee University's definition of the word credit hour. So at the heart of this student verification policy is the fact that schools have to demonstrate or be able to demonstrate that the student who registers in a distance learning course is the same student who participates in and completes the course program and receives the credit, not some hired for pay person online, taking the class on their behalf. So student identity verification. So there are three elements or three options for student identity verification. The first one is secure login to a learning management system, which for Tuskegee University is Blackboard. And the next is technologies for verifying student identity and proctored examinations. So we use Blackboard as a learning management system. Students are given a password and a unique username, which gives them access to this learning management system. And this login credentials are not to be shared with anyone to do work on behalf of students. It is also against the university's policy to attempt to gain unauthorized access to a student of a faculty's account. So the users, students, and faculty bear ultimate responsibility in keeping their passwords and usernames secure. And this learning management system also enables us to comply with the with the Family Education Rights Privacy Act, which requires that sensitive student information shouldn't be disclosed without the consent of the students. Blackboard integrates with other student information systems like Datatel, Tiger Web. So Blackboard pools, students, or continuously verifies the student status at the university by integrating with Tiger Web. If a student drops a course or a student cannot meet the financial obligations, when Blackboard is refreshed, this information is pulled in from Tiger Web, and the roster is updated. Faculty have secure access to courses and student information in Datatel and Tiger Web. You have information like the students' phone numbers, their emails, and student IDs. And all users, like I mentioned earlier, all users of the LMS are responsible for keeping their usernames and passwords secured. And it's forbidden to share usernames and passwords for the purpose of letting another person complete work on behalf of a student. So TU complies with FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. So technologies for verifying students' identity. So at registration, students and faculty upon employment receive unique IDs and usernames. And faculty have access to student rosters in Tiger Web. The Student Information Management System links students' names to various course activities in Blackboard. For instance, on discussion boards, you can see who is responding because their name is linked to their course activity. There is live audio and video through Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. You can see your students and confirm that these are indeed your students. And the SACS policy requires that students be notified in advance if additional fees are going to be applied for identity verification technologies and so on. So for instance, if you're going to add, let's say, proctoring to your course, the initial course syllabus must contain this information, letting students know that they would be paying for online proctoring, which is a standard policy for fully online courses. But now during this transition, because the courses were not originally online, so the university has to assume that responsibility of paying for proctoring. And after doing all of this, we must realize that technology is not absolute in determining students' identity. So the faculty members are encouraged to use the tools in Blackboard like the test pools and random blocks to create exams that promote academic integrity. So exams that are not like, since students take exams at different times online, a static exam, which has exactly the same problems each time, would not promote academic integrity because students communicate with each other. They could take snapshots or tell their friends, these are the questions on the test. But the question pools and random blocks ensures that each time a student logs in to take a test, random questions from a predefined pool of questions are assigned to this student. So there's no guarantee that any two students logging in will get the same questions. And once students realize this, then it dissuades them to, from sharing the exam questions, because it doesn't serve any purpose if I'm going to get a different set of problems. And there is discussion of holding a workshop on this next Wednesday. I think Dr. Reeves volunteered to lead this workshop, so watch out for the email. Proctored examinations is another option for verifying students' identity. So this is a valuable option to help educational organizations, provide students with a degree that has value. So the degree that they can be proud of, by ensuring that the students taking the exams online are indeed the students registered in the course, not their relatives, friends, or even companies hired, to take exams on their behalf. So the threat of not proctoring or not verifying students' identity is the fact that the program can lose credibility or integrity if it turns out that other individuals are taking exams on behalf of the registered students. So the proctoring ensures that credit is given to whom credit is due. There's identity authentication, promotes academic integrity by deterring cheating, and it promotes brand integrity. The ultimate foundation of academic programs is academic integrity. So if that foundation is lost, like a popular book says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? If we lose the foundation of academic integrity, then our brand loses value, and the degrees that students obtain also lose value. Now, proctoring in DL courses falls broadly into two groups. There is live proctoring, and there is on-demand or passive proctoring. So live proctoring has the following characteristics. It offers immediate correction when an incident occurs. You have a live proctor or person working with the student, and they will attempt to immediately address any incidents as it occurs. And as much as possible, it tries to replicate what we have in traditional or face-to-face proctoring. It requires scheduling ahead of time, less burden on the part of the instructor, because the instructor only receives a report if an incident occurs. If there is no incident, of course, you have access to the transcript of the exam, of the proctoring session in your account, but you only receive notifications when incidents or suspicious incidents occur in an exam. Of course, it's more costly compared to passive proctoring, because the companies have to hire, trained proctors to proctor maybe 1 to 4 students. Now, the on-demand, the other option is the on-demand, or you could call it record and review or passive proctoring. It leverages technology and artificial intelligence. It is convenient, scalable, less costly compared to live proctoring, because it relies on computer software and artificial intelligence. Now, some drawbacks of the on-demand are the fact that it doesn't, critics say it doesn't prevent cheating, rather it responds to cheating after the fact. So So basically the software, or students are under this on-demand proctoring, students agree to allow their webcams watch them as they take the exam, and through artificial intelligence, any suspicious actions during the exam are recorded and flagged. So now you, the instructor, have the responsibility to review this recording after the fact for the incidences that were flagged, and then take action. And because of this last point, you can see why this could be a problem if you have maybe 40 students or multiple classes with many students. So you will have to go in and review all these incidences and take action after the fact. Whereas with the live proctoring, the proctor will notify only the cases where there are incidences. So you don't need to review every single exam recording or transcript. So another policy reported to the accreditation board is the credit hour policy. So all Tuskegee University distance learning courses will meet the credit hour policy. So we have the federal definition of the credit hour, Tuskegee University definition, and then we talk about lecture courses, and then lab-based courses and other academic activities. So the federal definition of the credit hour is as follows. So an amount of work represented in intended learning outcomes and verified by evidence of achievement. That is an institutionally established equivalency that reasonably approximates, but it's not less than 1 hour of classroom instruction with a minimum of 2 hours of out-of-class student work per week for approximately 15 weeks. And 2, it is at least equivalent to the amount of work required in the above paragraph in other academic activities like lab work, internships, studio work, and research or independent study courses. So this policy applies to all credit-bearing courses. That means each course that appears on a student's official transcript with credit. It is consistent with the federal definition. That means 1 semester unit of credit hour of credit is equal to minimum of 3 hours per week for 15 weeks in a standard semester like the spring or fall. It's possible in some circumstances to have more hours, but not fewer hours. And then for shorter terms like the summer with 8 weeks, this will require more hours per week to achieve the same equivalent load. So for lecture courses, this includes fully online courses, and 1 unit equals 1 hour of instruction or a 1 hour exam per 2 hours of out of class work per week. So in all, for 1 semester, the number of hours should equal the weekly hours multiplied by 15 for a standard 15 weeks semester, or weekly hours times 8 for the summer. That is for Tuskegee University. Now for lab courses, the credit hour is defined as hours per week equal to all in class with no outside assignments. So under this definition, 1 unit will therefore be 3 hours, a 3-hour lab, a 3-hour in-class lab per week without any work assigned out of the lab. Now, if outside or out of class work is required, it may be used to establish equivalency. That means, for instance, in physics, we have labs meet for 1.5 hours for the introductory physics labs, and then students have another 1.5 hours out of class per week to complete analysis and write up a report. So the other option would have been to make it a 3-hour lab in class, and during that lab, they will take the measurements, do analysis, and complete the report in those 3 hours with no requirement to do, to do any work outside of the lab. Now, other academic activities leading to the award of credit hours through courses like internships, practical, independent studies, studio work, thesis. These courses will also require achievement of the established learning outcomes according to the standards. That is a minimum of 3 hours per week for 15 weeks, and more hours per week for shorter terms like the summer. So independent of the course modality, all courses should meet the established workload standards. So irrespective of whether a course is face-to-face, online, hybrid, the accreditation board expects all these courses to meet the established standard for credit hour. And that includes the minimum 3 hours per week for 15 weeks, and evidence that the students have met the established learning outcomes, by taking the assessments in the courses. So 3 hours per week times 15. And here is a sample of the time spent per week in an online course during the summer at Tuskegee University. We have this in a spreadsheet, and if anyone wants to modify this for their course, let us know. We'll be glad to send you this spreadsheet where you can estimate how much time you expect your students to spend on each activity. So you have to make sure for 3 credit hours, the threshold is 9 hours per week. So if your activities, this is during the design of your course. While you're building your course, you have to gauge the amount of time students will spend on the activities, on the required activities on a weekly basis. If your time is less than 9 credit hours, then your course may have a problem. I mean, if it's a fully online course, if you submit a fully online course for certification, the time required to complete the activities must exceed 9 hours. And you have to also be mindful of not overwhelming students, because there's a temptation online to keep adding activities. You could keep adding activities to a point where it literally takes students maybe 20 hours to complete activities in your course. And if this student is taking other courses, then this may negatively impact their performance. So this time budget is not only for students, it's also for you, the instructor, to see if your course is over demanding or if it meets the threshold for the credit hour policy. So this is like just a reminder, all courses independent of modality have to meet the standards, and the student learning outcomes should be identical, whether the course is offered online or face-to-face. The outcomes should be the same. The expectations of what you expect the students to achieve, or competencies, those have to be identical for both modes of delivery. And so that's the end of the presentation on the policies that keep us compliant with SACS COC accreditation. If there are any questions, we will be glad to take your questions at this moment.
Dr. Natam, hey.
Yes,
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Again, I've heard the two that you gave for these for this workshop, and they've both been great. I wanted to check in though about the spreadsheet that you put up.
Yes.
For the sample of the workload. I think it was 10.5 hours per week. That is awesome. But of course, that's for a semester course. And for a summer course, it would almost double. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just want to make that clear.
Yes, this is for the regular 15-week course. So for summer, the number you have to adjust it to meet the threshold for the regular 15-week course. That's correct. So thank you for that comment. I'm going to create a second sheet for a summer course to make sure the faculty have both sheets to know where their threshold should be in terms of time spent in the course. Yes.
Great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Barbara.
Hi.
I use a calculator out of Rice University.
Okay.
That gives you a ballpark idea of like how long a chapter should take to read based on how many new concepts it is and how detailed you want the reading to be. Gives you estimates for different writing assignments, and then you can plug in your own type of assignments. And I find it really useful. You also can adjust it to how many weeks the course is.
Okay.
So that might be helpful.
Can you share that with us by email?
If you can share with us, that would be great.
I'm trying to figure out how to share. Is there
you can send it by email. We'll get it offline.
Okay. I thought there was a chat or something.
Well, just send it by email. We'll put it in the RVI course for everyone to access.
Okay. I'll send it to Ms. MacArthur.
Great.
And
Dr. Ntam, please could you email the presentation? Because I would like to have the spreadsheet as well, please.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the spreadsheet as well? What is the difference between papers and writing?
Wow.
It would be primarily how you defined it. Maybe you want students to just do journal writing or blogs or wikis. But a paper, you want a formal paper, or it could be an informal paper, or it could be just a one sheet, blah, blah, blah. So there's differentiation in there.
Okay.
And this is just a sample. This is not really based on any course. It's just an illustration. So you will replace the first column with the actual course activities in your course.
Mm-hmm. And there's room for other activities that we may not have listed here. Yeah. When we initially started with distance education, this was a concern. And this, what you're seeing here is after, yes, we work very closely with Dr. Floyd Smith. We wanted to make sure that we get it right so that what we're giving to you is on point. So it just makes it a little bit easier. I mean, but also I don't want anybody to be scared when we start saying spreadsheet and it's this and it's that. What you see here as far as the task, that's going to be based on your course and how you teach. We're not telling you you have to have video lectures, readings, quiz, discussion boards. No, it's up to you to let us know and to look at what are you requiring students to do each week. And as Dr. DeTam and Dr. Floyd Smith said, we'll provide you with the spreadsheet and some examples in the RVI that account for your teaching load and what you're assigning students in the summer.
Okay. Is there any, Samuel Taylor, your hand is raised. Can you go ahead with your question?
Hi, yeah. My question is just about, so in my course, and I imagine in a lot of courses, you don't necessarily do the same tasks each week. And so for instance, like I wouldn't have a paper due every single week. I might only have it due, I might only have like 2 papers throughout the course or something like that. So am I supposed to go through each week and say, for that particular week, or should I be doing more on average throughout the semester?
Great question. So you could create, let's say for an 8-week course, if the activities are changing every week, just create 8 spreadsheets or 8 sheets in the same workbook and enter the activities for that week.
Yeah, if you're not doing papers every week, that's fine. You think of this as just kind of a template for you for whatever it is you already do and how you plan to teach online. And then you just plug in the activities and the guesstimate of the amount of time you might think it will take your students to complete. And then what the spreadsheet does, it just turns it into hours.
And I wanted to say the discussion boards, that will also be counted as writing.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not, fixed in stone. Obviously, some students will take far less than this time to complete the activities. Some will take a little bit above. So it's really an estimate. It's really a way to make sure your course, at least meets the threshold for the credit hour, definition. So it's not like a fixed in stone number that you must meet each week. And it also helps the students to plan. So if you provide this to students and say, this is my weekly expectation, it also helps them to mentally prepare, how much time to devote each week to be successful in your course.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's more questions. There's 53 of you in here.
Okay, any questions? I don't see any hand raised.
Oh, okay. So why don't we do this? How about if I pick someone's name at random and we ask them, name us one task or activity you're going to have your student do? Let's see, who we're going to pick? Dr. Whittington.
Wow, big surprise.
Yes. So
one activity my students do, I have them do online surveys and like to test their knowledge, but then I might have them do like a daily journal, just to see how that knowledge changes on a specific subject matter as we go on throughout the semester. So that's an example of the writing, but usually I always assign papers, short papers, like 3 pages, on specific subject matters that I feel are extremely important that they understand, because we may expound in great detail on a specific topic, and I just want to make sure it's driven home, even though they may say, yeah, I get it. And they may be able to, at the time, explain what we're talking about and add some detail, but I want to make sure everybody is on the same level. So I'll definitely do the papers, and then I'll definitely have the writing and a lot of that involves, some of it will actually involve some calculations. I might give them numbers, and then they'll have to create tables like the one you see right here, where you have the distribution as far as time for the week. So definitely those types of things. I was kind of curious, what platforms do you recommend for labs though?
Okay, before we jump to that, I did want to ask you, so if you have a student to write a 3-page paper, how much time, are they allotted a certain amount of time, or will you be able to assume that a 3-page paper should take one of my, Dr. Richard Whittington's students, 2 hours to write a 3-page paper? Is it a draft? Is it very technical? And that's kind of how to help you to figure out how much time it's going to take for papers. And it's up to you if you want to indicate.
So, usually it'll be a paper that they'll be given to that, because most of my classes are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so it'll be except for like the summer, which is like every day. But usually I give like a 2 to 3 day time interval, and I know that because there's usually a literature review component to it, it may take 3 hours total.
For one 3-page paper would take 3 hours.
Because you have to do most of my papers require that they actually have to go do some research, at least do a literature review, and then I'll give them scientific websites that they can go to and actually get the resources they need for free. And because there's always going to be ones that are paid, and over the time I've encountered students that say, oh, I couldn't get that because they said it would cost $30 or $50 or $100. So it's gotten to the point where I've developed the assignment to the point where I give them a list of search engines or websites to go to where they can find content on the topics that I assign. And then, so there's probably like somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour where they'll probably need to just find the references and then actually read through it. And then usually I require 3 to 5 references. And so they need to find at least 3 to 5 minimum references to actually compile the information into one concise paper. So usually at least minimum 3 hours. But then the other thing is I account for technical difficulty because people might have computers that crash and all that other stuff. And usually I ask for, to send me the digital version of the articles that they find, so I can prove that they found legitimate articles. So I actually reference or go to the links in the references and make sure that these are sound papers that they use.
And you could change when you do receive this spreadsheet. You could change any of these the topics or tasks to. You could just simply call it literature review if you want to differentiate between if you want to be more specific. Let me put it that way.